Orion Kell loved the hush that settled over a derelict ship once his boots crossed its threshold. It was the hush of sealed stories, rust-flecked bulkheads, frozen readouts, half-spoken log entries looping forever in silent void. On most salvage runs, that hush lasted only a heartbeat before the crew flooded in behind him, loud, joking, greedy for the platinum inductor coils they could pry loose and the sensor relays they could flip on the black market. But this wreck was different. It lay marooned on the ashen plains of Lorne Ivy's third moon, half buried in a rubble crater that had cooled centuries ago. From orbit, the vessel looked like a broken crown. Close, it felt older than the language Orion spoke. The name stenciled across the scorched hull, NSV Agar, was a footnote in pre-unification history texts, rumored lost in a blind hyperspace hop during the final months of the Solar Wars. Captain Mulrow had secured an exclusive salvage claim, then sent Orion in first, to scout and map. A nicer way of saying if there's a pressure breach, better you than the rest of us. So Orion pressed through an autonomous airlock alone, lights glimmering from his suit, exoservos whirring like patient cicadas. The entry corridor yawned wide as a cathedral nave. He swept a tight beam lamp across spidering cracks, marveling at the preserved murals, stylized rings of planets, luminous with long-dead pigment. The crew kept art on their walls, he thought. They expected homecoming. After an hour of methodical charting, he reached the primary medical bay. The doors, fused half open by a surge long ago, revealed a cavernous ward. Dust-padded cots lay in neat rows. Instruments were bolted in antique steel brackets. Yet at the chamber's far end, an improbable pulsing light spilled through a shattered observation pane. Orion crawled through, wrestling his pack, and froze. A crystal pod, neither stasis tube nor cryosarcophagus he'd ever seen, stood in the center of a ring of flickering hollow runes. Inside floated a slim, silver-skinned being, eyes closed, arms folded as if in prayer. Translucent filaments tethered the figure to nodules around the base. The light that filled the pod did not bleed white but breathed opalescent blues and greens, as though drawn from an unseen ocean. His helmet HUD scrolled alerts, unknown biosignatures, energy emissions off the civil charts, but his thoughts turned to legend. During the old wars there had been whispers of Xenos who could knit flesh with a glance, who traveled with human fleets as living meteorarchs. Officially they were myth. Orion's lips tingled with the urge to speak, though he was alone. He toggled exterior comms anyway. "Captain, I found someone. Something." He described the pod, then added, "It's alive." Static crackled. "Secure valuable tech. Ignore hostiles unless threatened. Tag for extraction." Terse, Orion mused. Mulrow heard new asset, not living mind. The being's eyelids fluttered. Reflex made Orion backpedal, but the pod irised open noiselessly. Warm, fragrant air spilled out, carrying notes of cedar and sunlit water. The alien lowered delicate feet onto the deck, filaments retracting into its spine like dew-soaked vines. Its eyes, liquid amber speckled with violet flecks, fixed on him. "You carry sorrow in your bones," it said, voice neither male nor female, or perhaps both. "I can taste it." Orion willed his pulse to calm. "I lost people in a breach last cycle. We all carry something." He forced an engineer's steadiness. "Who are you?" "I am Veari, last of the session healers." Faint bow. "And you walk among graves." "Last," he echoed. Veari's gaze drifted to the silent ward. "My cadre served this vessel. When the Agir Miz jumped, plague spores from a dark system flooded us. I sealed myself within the chrysalis to weave antidote, but numbers dwindled. Without help, I could not finish the working. Orion instinctively snapped hollow stills for record. Our historians thought session tales were propaganda. With reason, Veari sighed. Your admirals erased us to shield their shame. We offered life. They demanded weapons. A tremor rattled the deck. Power surged through antique conduits, then died. Orion's HUD spiked again, surge radiating from the engine core deeper inside. That, Veari murmured, head tilting like a tuning fork, is the plague stirring. My chrysalis suppressed it. Once open, containment wanes. Warning runes danced across Orion's visor. He pictured Mulrow's crew scavenging blindly toward the engine bay. They'll breach a nest we can't see. He found himself asking, can we still stop it? Veari's reply was almost a whisper. With trust. And a price. Mulrow cursed when Orion returned to the airlock with the alien trailing behind. The captain's scarred face crinkled like drying leather. A Xeno healer. That's Black Vault auction gold. He barked to the others, eyes glittering. Chain of custody is ours. She's not cargo, Orion snapped, surprising himself. The ship's infected. If she can't finish her cure, we risk outbreak. First Officer Hera crossed muscled arms. Show us proof of plague. Otherwise, our salvage charter stands. Veari stepped forward. Her palm unfolded into luminescent strands unfurling like ivy, then reknit into skin. My proof is written in your bloodstreams. Microscopic parasites latched onto every exposed surface when you boarded. You have perhaps 8 hours before fever begins. Silence cracked the bay like ice. Mulrow's bravado faltered. You're bluffing. The healer merely blinked. Doubt is a luxury measured in heartbeats. Hera swore and checked her datapad vitals. Readings flickered uncertainly. Orion watched tension pivot to fear. Mulrow recalculated. All right. He straightened. You neutralize the pathogen. We escort you. But he gestured vaguely. Payment is your continued survival under our protection. Orion caught the veiled threat. If Veari cured them, she became corporate property. She seemed to sense it too. Her shoulders drew taut. But she nodded once. Lead me to the engine sanctum. The plague core resides there. The heart of the Agir sat a kilometer beneath primary decks, a vast spherical reactor webbed in jade conduits. Light still pulsed, though the ship had slept 3 centuries. As they traversed rusted gantries, whispering spores drifted like golden snow. Orion's suit filters whined. Hera coughed, though she tried to hide it. At the final bulkhead a security turret slumbered, muzzle drooping. Veari swept her hand. Circuits glowed then faded, the turret powering down with a sigh. Inside, the core chamber was alive with tendrils, organic cables sprouting from cracked coolant pipes, throbbing as fluid pumped. At the center hung a black orb the size of a child, swirling with dim stars. Orion felt his stomach lurch, vertigo tugging at memory and equilibrium. The plague seed, Veari said. Born from wounded hyperspace, a hungry singularity married to flesh. She drew a vial from her wrist, shimmering bright teal. My people harvested Starphora pollen, potent enough to rewrite the seed's lattice, but I require a catalyst, human empathy, to guide it. Her gaze locked on Orion. Will you anchor me? Mulrow shoved forward. If anybody's risking Brainlink, it'll be me. I want control of whatever powers you wield. Veari did not even turn. Your heart beats for profit, not people. That connection would warp the cure. Mulrow's hand drifted to his sidearm. Orion stepped between. Stand down, Captain. We're running out of time. The two men measured each other. Orion saw greed fracturing into raw survival behind Mulro's eyes. The captain spat. "Fine. Try your mysticism. But if we die, your corpse gets jettisoned to vacuum." Veari beckoned Orion to kneel opposite her before the orb. She pressed the vial to the sphere. Pollen spread in luminous waves. Then she placed her palm to his chest plate. The chamber fell away. Orion's mind dived through suns and bruised nebulae, memories spilling like cards. His sister teaching him constellations, the day his outpost decompressed, the cold alone after. He felt Veari sift those shards, knitting them into a tapestry of luminous threads, feeding them into the starving seed. Pain lanced his skull. He sensed the seed pushing back, tasting grief, transmuting it into acidic dread. Veari's presence wrapped around him like song, yet strain rippled along their link. "It is devouring me," she confessed across the bond. "If I withdraw, you die with me." Orion saw her secret then. Images unspooling. Session healers were engineered by early Terran biorites, hybrid vessels designed to metabolize pathogen into cure, at the cost of their own cells. Each healing shortened their life thread. Veari's cadre had perished not from plague but from curing it, again and again, until only she remained. He realized her bargain. Finish the cure and she would burn out. No, he thought. There must be a way to share the load. Summoning every sleight of mech engineering he knew, Orion mapped suit power to biofeedback, channeling microcurrent to stabilize synapse overloads. He coaxed latent empathy from memories of friendship, moments he'd buried to stay functional. He flung them across the link like lifelines. The seed shuddered, color blooming where darkness reigned. Spores inverted, collapsing back into filaments of light that wound themselves into the orb, mending microfractures in reality's skin. Sudden quiet. Orion gasped, blinking tears. The orb now glowed warm gold, inert. Veari slumped. Silvery blood oozed from her nose, evaporating midair. Orion caught her. Her skin felt cool, papery. "You can't fade," he pleaded aloud. Her smile was weary yet peaceful. "Your compassion completed the pattern. The plague is unborn." Behind them Mulro stared, transfixed by the orb's soft radiance. The captain's mind already weighed its market worth. He gestured to Hera. "Secure it." Orion whipped around. "Touch it and you risk resurrecting the seed. Leave it." Mulro leveled his pistol. "Step aside." Veari's fingers brushed Orion's wrist. Energy flared, a brief corona that sent the captain staggering back. His gun clattered, circuits shorted. "I vowed never to wield harm," Veari whispered. "But I have one act left." She lifted her trembling hand to the orb. Symbols flared on its surface, computations racing. Self-destruct, Orion realized. She nodded faintly. He hoisted her, sprinting for the exit. Hera, shaken, followed. Mulro scrambled after, cursing, as claxons erupted. They dodged falling girders, raced along corridors now glowing with evacuation strobes. At the auxiliary hangar, Orion sealed Veari into a scout skiff. Hera fired up its thrusters. When Mulro lunged, Orion punched him. Membrane of months of obedience finally split, and shoved the dazed man into the skiff's hold. They launched moments before a silent bloom lit the void. The Agir imploded, becoming a brief new star before fading into dust and memory. 2 weeks later, anchored in orbit around Sobek Station, Orion stood outside Medsuite glass watching Veari sit cross-legged beneath warm lamps. Her skin regained luster, though faint hairline cracks remained, a reminder of cells sacrificed. Hera appeared beside him. Station Council cleared quarantine. We're heroes, apparently. Orion snorted. Until they debrief Mulrow and decide how to spin the story. Mulrow signed a plea to avoid prison. He claims the session saved his life. For once, honesty pays. She hesitated. What about her? Her choice, he said. Vari beckoned. Orion entered. He expected formal thanks. Instead she offered a polished metal cube. What's this? A seed as well, of knowledge, not plague. It holds the genome of the session, unshackled from the failsafe shortening our lives. Your species bred us to burn bright and brief. Now the code is free. With it we may live for ourselves. Orion weighed the cube, humbled. You trust me with this. I trust the part of you that met me with kindness, not profit. Her eyes shimmered. Guard it until ready minds can tend it. What will you do? I will wander. Heal where welcomed. Learn who I am beyond design. She rose, joint stronger. Perhaps one day I'll return. Orion escorted her to the docking ring. She stepped into a sleek civilian courier Mulrow had forfeited. Before the hatch closed she looked back. You mended more than a plague. You reminded a weary cosmos that empathy is the greatest engineer. The airlock cycled. Her vessel drifted into the star-speckled gulf, then leapt to fold space with a cerulean flash. Orion remained by the viewport long after, cube warm in his palm, reflecting starlight. The hush he loved filled his ears again. Not silence but potential. Somewhere out there wandered an alien healer with a secret no longer burden but hope, and in his hand rested the blueprint of a future where life was not designed to expire for another's gain. For the first time since those bitter war lessons, Orion believed that wasn't just a salvageable dream, it was a destiny waiting to be written.